The Tomb of Pharaoh and the Flowers of Eternal Life, brought to you by the Center for Enlightenment and myself, Matthalamew. This is the middle of a series on From Egypt to Israel. And we see here the psilocybin cubensis with the black eyes, the dot eyes, and the orange cap, and it's a closed cap. So it's not so recognizable, for one thing. Here we have the blue lily of the Nile, which contains apomorphine. I find it best when mixed with vodka in a fairly 1 to 10 ratio, but I don't recommend it for everyone. And this is the mourning woman. And this is her husband, no doubt, or partner. Alright, just ignore that. Here we have the same thing, but this plant here is mandrake, a aphrodisiac with psychedelic properties, but it's in the atropine family and not really recommended. I have not learned how to safely use it. The crown of Pharaoh. This is basically what the crown is, the primordia, or the bowling ball pin of psilocybin. He wore that on his cap as a statement of his authority. The similarities are remarkable. Here you have the fluted columns with the cap and a veil set there, right in the middle of the gills, so it's more symbolic than anything else. As you can see, the veil is down here. Sometimes the veil tears like this. An example of a tearing veil is the veil of the covenant, or the place that separated the Holy of Holies from the rest of the temple. And that tore when Jesus died, because Jesus came to reveal this, that these mushrooms are his body. It's not make-believe, it's not hocus-pocus like we've been taught, that turns it into the body of God. It already was the body of God. There you have it. Subjugation. Now the Egyptians subjugated these Aryans, and one of the tributes they took from them was the mushroom that they worshipped or sacrificed with. I don't think they worshipped it. That would be a little dangerous, spiritually speaking. But it is the name. It's the name of God, so it deserves that kind of respect. Here they're offering up the name of God to the Egyptian pharaohs. Here's the pharaohs offering up the name of God in the form of the lilies, which, isn't really the psilocybin, but you'll note the differences. 100 years after Exodus, approximately 1446 BC, a totally different pharaoh came to power named Akhenaten. Akhenaten was a monotheistic god. He was a pharaoh. He thought himself a god, probably by eating the amanita muscaria in a sacred rite. This is Nefertiti, and this is around her neck. Around Nefertiti's neck is the mandrake, as well as the other colors of the sacred medicines. Alright, Akhenaten, he did depict himself very humbly, and he did lift up the psilocybin mushrooms, but he thought ultimately the sun was God. The land of milk and honey, you can just see these old Israelite artworks, and close-ups show that there's mushrooms in these baskets, or what looks like mushrooms. Now this is the staff of Pharaoh. It's bowing, as you can see, to the Ankh, and the staff of Pharaoh is amanita muscaria. You can see the gills here, the eye set in the capstone, but the bulbous nature at the bottom shows that it's the staff of Pharaoh, Satan's mushroom. While Satan bows to God, that's about all he bows to. Hebrew history is made. The Ten Commandments, the Greek vase. This is a symbol of the line of Seth, Ares, as he was known among the Greek traditions, the god of war. And here you see the mushroom scrolls in the shells. This scroll is not natural to the shell. It's done purely to be symbolic that the shell is representative of the mushroom. Alright, these are Torah scrolls. The scroll is got a mushroom on top, and here it has an opium poppy, very carefully depicted, not a mistake, with a mushroom cap on top. Let me just see if I can get this to hold still for a minute. That's among the Hebrews. That was a breastplate worn by the priest. So that says a lot. The hands in the shape of a mushroom. These are Mesoamerican seashells, and they show a flower, and they show the seashell, both the conch shell, the spiral serpent, and the scallop shell. You can see that the conch shell is really this morning glory by this cross section. You're learning a lot today. As we talked about the lilies in Egypt, the Israelites took the lilies, or the honey, milk and honey. The honey would be the psilocybin mushroom, and the milk would be the poppies, or the blue lotuses. Here you see the blue lotus flower, a peace that surpasseth all understanding is what's being offered here. It's worth the bargain. It takes a little while to figure out your own chemistries, but it's worth checking out. Then again, you have to pick up your cross, if you know what I mean. So, here we have mushrooms being displayed in a 4th century Christian church. This is in Rome. And it's just a whole lot of mushrooms being crushed into wine for a banquet. Close-up of it. The reason that the figures are blue is, of course, because they're representing the staining of the mushroom. So like the blue god pharaohs, and in the east there's blue gods and sacred cows to represent psilocybin. And here is the actual psilocybin itself. The most common does grow on animal dung, which, if you don't like animal dung, you might not like the most common. But then again, most commonly they're grown in closets on grain, so no worries. Living water, living water. Yep, that's what it is. Heavenly manna, another name for it is hidden manna. In Revelations 2:17, you'll find the reference to hidden manna. If you overcome, you'll be given some of the right to eat of this. This is the legend of the Messiah. This is the legend of the Messiah, and it shows a healing of a man on a mat. I'm going to bring this to a close here and start over here tomorrow. So please join me.